Welcome to Phantom Zoned, the podcast where we dredge the lakes of hell in search of the worst the cinematic world has to offer and put it on trial for its various crimes against humanity. Should a film be found not guilty, it's free to frolic and roam the fields of life for the enjoyment of everyone. However, should a film be found guilty, then it is jettisoned into the far, far reaches of space, a phantom zone, if you will. I'm your host, Adrian Torres, and joining me, as always, is my good UHR buddy, terrorist pal, Scott Daly. How are we doing, Scott?
I am doing good, Captain Torres.
Okay, you can't even get that right. Call me Adrian.
I forgot what the line was, but it's something like I can't. My programming does not let me use a common colloquialism or something.
He mentions that that's a first name as a common or as a familiar commonality. My programming will not allow me to address you as such.
Yes.
All right. So, I'm glad that we do not have a guest this week to endure the boredom fest that we sat through. We were going to have a guest. Something fell through. We're going to try to have a guest next week. I know that Scott's talking to somebody because we had a movie set up for this week. Scott started watching it early in the day because he's lucky like that and he's able to do that. And he sent me a couple messages and then said, I'm about halfway through and I think this would be perfect for our old other co-host. So we put that on hold and he was forced to endure another movie that I was able to find. And this movie is the best way to describe it is it's everything you would expect to be tied in a direct-to-video movie in the mid-90s. It has all the terrible staples of that time period. It's called Cyber Tracker 2. And of course, we decided to go with this movie because of Scott's love for movies which he has not seen the original of.
I think it's a lot of fun because you got to see if you need to figure stuff out or if you don't or if it matters. We did, what was the Howlers or Howling? Which is the one we did the third movie of that I'd never seen the other two?
It was The Howling.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It's fun because I enjoy trying to, like, these movies are so boring, Adrian, that at least if I have, like, a puzzle that I can try to figure out, it makes it a little more fun for me, so.
I don't really agree with you in cases like this where you're thinking, well, maybe there's something that I'm missing from the original movie because they're not setting up anything in this world, and they're not even, reminding you of anything in this world to catch you up to speed. You're just thrown straight into it.
Yeah. It did not work out this time.
No,
there's not, from what I can tell, I needed nothing from the original at all in this.
Well, this movie needed nothing from you, so it worked out.
Yeah,
it worked out really well. They're on both IMDb and Amazon. When it comes to describing the film, they have the exact same thing, except for one of them credits the actor who's in it. It simply says, a Secret Service agent battles an arms dealer who is creating a cyborg army.
I mean,
it's
accurate.
Basically.
Yeah. It's really hit and miss on these things. So it's when you get one that's simplistic, but accurate.
And the reason that basically works is because it's a movie that's about an hour and 35 minutes, and about 75% of it is people standing around and firing weapons.
Yeah. So, like, this is the thing. Like, this is a Terminator ripoff. I guess we should say that. Like, in really shameless ways. Like,
well, it does have that, but then it's also just any technological film from the 90s.
Yeah, but, like, at least in the Terminator, they established that while the Terminator could, like, take bullets, it would at least slow them down.
Yes.
This movie, it is established very quickly that the cyber trackers are basically completely bulletproof. And shooting them does nothing. And then it's 70 minutes of people shooting the Cybertrackers over and over again, emptying clip after clip in them, and just not mattering at all.
Well, that's once we have several Cybertrackers around, because we have to get through some nonsense before that. The movie was directed by a guy named Richard Pepin, who had his main claim to fame is that he will make any movie, or so it feels if you look at his body of work, because he didn't direct a whole bunch of stuff, but everything that he's done has the feeling of a C or D or Z grade film. He's not somebody who's being brought in to make really a B film. He's somebody who's in to come in, get paid $1, and have his films make $1 for people who are really bored. And yes. And you could tell from like every aspect, because there's a couple things that he really likes to do in the film. He really likes blowing stuff up, but he doesn't have any concept of how to really stage anything that's going on.
The geography of this movie is just all over the place. Like, you can never tell who is where when.
I can't even tell what year it is at any point. We know that it vaguely takes place in the future, and our lead is played by none other than Don the Dragon Wilson. And that's officially what he went by in a whole bunch of movies. You would usually see it at the top of the box like that. In some movies, he'd be credited like that. But Don the Dragon Wilson was one of many actors who popped up in the wake of people like Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren making it on the big stage. And while those people are often kind of looked at as laughable actors or people who constantly have to make fun of the struggles that they have when it comes to acting, they are a lot more charismatic than people of Don the Dragon Wilson's level. And that's basically because it's a really bad joke, but I would describe him as Don able to suck all the air out of the room Wilson, because he is a vacuum.
Yeah, he's awful. And I like, he's in so many things, Adrian. He's got 67 acting credits, and he's still acting. Like, there's a movie coming out this year that's in post-production that he's in. There's a movie in pre-production coming out in 2019 that he's in. Well,
it's because he's one of those old standbys, you know, because there was him, and there were a whole bunch of different people. I don't know why I'm blanking. Michael Dudikoff is a much better example, because Dudikoff has a lot more charisma and insanity compared to Don the Dragon Wilson. But there were a whole bunch of actors that in the late 80s, early 90s, because they were able to do their own stunts, were able to stick around. This movie shows you that should not be the case when it comes to Don the Dragon Wilson, because he barely does any fighting, and when he does actually do fighting, you're just as bored as all the bullets that are falling on the ground.
Yeah, for someone that's, I guess, known for being an action star, you're right. There's very little like hand-to-hand fighting. And it's all real bad. The opening of the film sees him doing a drug sting, which, again, I don't know if that's something that the Secret Service members do. The interesting thing that I did note when looking up information on the original film is that in the original film, he's listed as a secret agent. So somehow he goes from being a secret agent to a member of the Secret Service. That's a definite downgrade for poor Dragon.
Yeah. And it doesn't make sense, like, why he's on the sting, because they don't mention it at any other point in the film. But, like, the super generic, stereotypical goons that he has around him are actually more energetic and more lively and far better actors than he is. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's weird. Like, he's like a wet blanket, man. He's just like, yep. And he's better when he's playing the tracker
when he's playing his own character, because he just has to stand there and not say anything.
So I mean, that's basically the thrust of the film, is that he's somebody who works on the governmental side of it, and even though he's Secret Service, he's constantly seen working with the police, and the police task force has what's known as a cyber tracker, which is basically your run-of-the-mill cyborg. And the one that you meet at the beginning of the movie is named Number 9, and he has pieces of metal sticking out all over him because he's clearly an early model. Numbers that you see later in the movie, like number 59, are dressed like the Terminator.
Yeah.
And that's it.
It's weird. Like, so the movie opens on that drug sting, right? And
yeah,
shit goes crazy. There's battling, and
there's about 5,000 bullets that are shot, and in the midst of it all, there's 3 guys that on the police squad who have laser guns. Laser guns that never show up in the rest of the movie. And so I don't know why the police have, like, no other police people have laser guns.
Well, this is the weird thing, that, like, these people never prioritize their best weapons ever.
No.
Like, they have this bulletproof cyborg man, and they call him in once stuff has gone bad, and I'm just like, why not just have him walk through the wall and kill everybody right away? Like, so many cops die in this fight, and they did not need to.
And when he does show up, Eric, who's Don the Dragon Wilson's character, keeps on going alongside of him, and it's like, no, you've got the guy who's there to be the sponge and take all the bullets so that you can get away.
Exactly.
And instead you're running in with him. My favorite moment of this is towards the very end of this battle. I'm using air quotes for battle. But they have, oh God, I'm trying to remember the geography. There's more cops that are showing up. And so 2 of the cops decide to park their car at basically the front of this building where everyone's shooting at each other. They get out of their vehicle very quickly, and then it explodes. Like, you don't see anybody shoot the car with anything.
No.
They just get out of the car, and the car blows up, and then something else inside the warehouse blew up with it.
Yep. That's this movie. Lots of random explosions. Because there's that one bad guy that I guess it's a grenade launcher.
Yeah.
And he uses it a lot. Like, the scene where the dragon is, like, hurtling over cars in slow motion, and they just keep getting blown up. And there's, like, 6 of them.
And they intercut it with that police car that's getting blown up, but the police car's in a completely different side of the building, and they keep on going back to, I guess we'll just call him the Dragon. You seem to enjoy that, so.
It's so ridiculous.
He's just the Dragon.
I'm sure he came up with that name himself. You gotta call me the Dragon, man.
That sounds more like Steven Seagal, so no.
Yeah, I want to put them in the same box, except this guy is in much better shape.
Yes. He's half the man that Steven Seagal is. Oh. But yeah, he's in slow motion hurtling over cars, and the second that he gets done with it, the bad guy shows up and grabs him and says, "That was really impressive. You got some good moves." And I'm like, wait, what? you don't grab the guy that you're trying to kill just to compliment his skill.
Yeah.
No. But he gets out of the situation because no one in that scene matters, save for he's not the chief of the police, but he's, I guess, a captain.
Yeah.
Of the police who's there, who's played by Tony Burton, who lots of the listeners out there would either know from the original assault on Precinct 13. But other than that, he's done a whole bunch of stuff. But the series that he's been in the most would be the Rocky series, because he starts out as Apollo Creed's trainer and then ends up becoming Rocky's trainer.
Yep.
And the last part of the series. And he has some great and terrible scenes. So I enjoyed him.
He's definitely
get
like it's tough. It's tough to say he's slumming it, but he's slumming it.
He kind of is, yeah. So Eric goes home, and we see that things are kind of in the future because they have a security system that has to, ID him. And when he gets into the house, it turns out that the security system also has an AI personal companion that's built into the system, who's able to complain about the fact that they can't do much because they're a hologram, but they can greet everyone. It's very, very awkward.
So this is where Blade Runner 2049 got it from, obviously.
except for Agnes or whatever it is, and this is just confined to the top of the TV.
Yeah, that's a bummer. And they go away a quarter of the way through the movie and never come back.
And never come back. Never come back. The house is a really weird place because at the same time, Eric is getting ready to get it on with his wife, who's a popular news reporter. And so the AI says, "Oh, would you like privacy mode?" And the dragon's like, "Yeah, that sounds great." And so she turns off her monitor, but then starts emitting a high-pitched squeal from the TV. Did you notice that?
No, I didn't. What?
Yeah. If you go back and watch it, when she turns the privacy mode, which turns down the lights in the room and changes it so that she's no longer on the TV, but on the screen it says, it's in privacy mode, and there is a large droning, like pulsing whine that's going on.
Weird.
So she's like, "Yeah, I'm going to let you have sex, but I'm also going to give you tinnitus."
That's weird. I did not catch that.
And this is also where we get his really weird musings. And it seems like he comes home every day and just complains to the AI because he walks in and he's like, "Oh man, had I known that marriage was going to be this way, I totally wouldn't have gotten married because she works all the time and all I have is leftover pizza to eat."
Well, if you didn't want a career woman as your wife, you shouldn't have married one. It's weird.
Who's fucking writing the AI? And why is the AI like this when apparently all it is a security system?
Also,
it doesn't really do anything else.
Also, you can order non-cold pizza if you want. Like, literally no one's stopping you from doing that.
Isn't that like the one thing that the AI should suggest is be like, "Oh, are you hungry? Well, let's order you some pizza. Do you want something different? How about Mexican?" But no, she's just like, ha 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 ha.
I guess Postmates doesn't exist in this future world.
No. I mean, their phones are really weird because they've got little fold-up phones that I don't understand how they're used, but they're there, and they want to make sure that it's there. And so his wife comes home, like I said, and they're getting ready to get busy, but they have a very force-fed example of one of those I don't trust technology speeches.
Yeah, I don't see. That's what, like, I don't. We try to take these movies as seriously as possible, and so I really try to sit down and come up with what I think the movie was trying to say. And that's not what this movie is trying to say. This movie's not anti-technology. It's just this random character that suddenly says, "Oh, technology."
Yeah, but I mean, this is a movie where 2 seconds before, the wife says or Connie says to him, "I like your hair, but I hate this undercover work." I'm like, what? Is this?
I guess
is this your version of foreplay?
Is his hair different from the first movie? I guess that's what I took that as.
I don't know. Maybe
he grew longer hair because that's what being undercover requires.
I don't know. Some of those undercover, or I guess they weren't undercover, but they were the bad guys, wore the giant leather trench coats and then had a leather vest underneath it, but then nothing under the leather vest.
Of course, as you do.
So it's just the exposed arms, pasty white arms, and then the leather vest is not a good look for human beings.
Oh my God.
I didn't want to be too narrow-minded with that. The next day we have a scene that I thought was going to come back somehow and does not at all. But the police captain Swain, his niece is a neighbor of Eric's and is practicing for a local base like karate. I don't know if
that was
she
the
mentioned
weirdest
that
thing in the world.
That she's getting ready to get like her black belt, but then she mentions exams and I don't know, because I mean, while I don't know a ton about mixed martial arts, I know that there's a whole bunch of different belt colors for karate. So she's not just going to be doing it. And then instead of like, practicing with somebody, she decides that she's going to throw on the simulation and brutally murder people in the game. Like, that's what I was frightened about is I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure if you're doing any of this stuff for the tests, they're going to be like, no, you don't understand the tenets that we want to teach you.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to brutally dismember people and then knock their head off. But the movie did earn a point in the Phantom Zone book because we got a virtual nut shot.
Is it the first time that we've got a virtual nut shot?
It's the first virtual one, and the like the little simulation thing that she's doing awards her points for doing so. So I don't. Right. It also gives her points for like kicking someone's head off.
Yeah, I guess this virtual reality helmet is a funny looking helmet and sunglasses. That's what it is.
It never comes back, and she never comes back.
No, and it's like the movie tries to recall to that because like she gives this hint like the way to beat the robots is to act unexpectedly, and Dragon says that late in the movie, but he never actually does it. Like he just
Well, no, okay,
just shoots them a lot.
We'll skip ahead to that part for 2 seconds, just because it's one of my favorite ill-conceived moments in the movie. But he's got a tracker who's designed to look exactly like him in the car that's behind him, and he has it an epiphany in the car, basically, where he's like, "Oh man, this cyborg's not going to let us go. We have to be unpredictable. All right, we're going to jump up here." And then one guy jumps, and he gets ready to jump and jumps out, and the cyborg still follows. And I'm like, the cyborg's directly behind his car. He can see each of these people drive out or jump out. And he's like, well, I guess I got to crash and flip over 7 different times while on fire because I've got these cars directly in front of me.
Yeah. That's unpredictability right there.
No, it's not unpredictability because of the fact that the flipping through the air over something while on fire as a car has already been done 3 different times in this movie by this point.
Oh my god, it happens so many times. Remember the van that just explodes in front of the other cars and causes it to go flying into the air?
Oh, see, my favorite thing about that, so skipping ahead, Connie says that she's going to go to work, and so the dragon says, "Say hey to me, on the news," and she laughs it off, and she leaves, and she's late getting to this, I guess it's supposed to be a government building, but it actually looks like the Nakatomi Plaza from Die Hard.
Oh, I didn't connect that. I think in my mind's eye now, I agree with you, but I don't know if that's just manipulating by your statement or not.
It was a different shade of color, but it definitely looked like the building. But she's going there to cover a press conference that this governor's going to have. But it turns out that en route to the building, she's actually swapped out with a new version of Tracker who looks tremendously human, and ends up shooting the governor. And then there's a giant, gunfight that ensues. A gunfight where she's casually able to just saunter out of the building and walk past another gunfight that's taking place.
Yeah, where did all those people come from?
I don't know. They just popped up. That's what I was confused. I'm like, so she walked outside and there's already a war that's going on, but more people are popping up from behind bushes or popping out with shotguns to take people on. And there's only one person who yells, "Hey, get her."
But it's like, this is the stuff. I mean, these gunfights, like, there's boring ways to do gunfights and there's fun ways to do gunfights, and these are people, like, most of the time they aren't even in cover. They're just standing still, loading clips into each other and missing 90% of the time.
Yep.
And it's
or they've
over and over
and over. Yeah. Scenes that should be like 3 to 4 minutes and be enjoyable are 7 to 8 minutes, feel like an eternity, and have no concept of anything whatsoever. Because it turns into a car chase, but it's a van that's trying to not be detected, but it's driving really fast, that has the tracker version of Connie. And like Scott said, there's a van that then pulls out and ends up exploding so that this other car can get by. But when it explodes, you see a police van that's turning over to jump over it, basically. But if you watch it, just as the vehicle explodes, that the police van was already in the air.
Yep. I don't know
which
how
I
that
didn't
works.
understand. I'm like, I understand if it crashes into it. I understand if there's like a ramp that it's going to hit, but
Well, see, there was a stunt ramp, and that's what happened.
No, because even if there was a stunt ramp, it would have been further back. Oh my god, it's just everything. You barely get any dialogue for whole swaths of the movie, where you're trying to piece things together and people are having conversations, but they're not explaining like what they're saying. It doesn't fit. It doesn't connect. You've got an actor who's along for the ride, who is the third person that Scott was talking about, who was in the original movie, as well as the part of Jared, who is the cameraman for Connie, and witnesses her get like kidnapped.
So all three of these people were like secret agents for a government organization, or an organization that overthrew the government.
Yes, because Connie and Jared were members of the UHR, which was the Union for Human Rights.
Okay.
But they were viewed as terrorists who were going up against the state.
So he's like a secret agent, and then he saves the world, stops a government coup, overthrows the government, puts new government in, and then says, "I'm gonna be a cameraman now."
And that guy was weird. That actor in general is more interesting in his life than like the character he plays in the movie, because that guy is Steve Burton, and he's known in America because of a couple things. One, he is the U.S., so the English voice actor for Cloud Strife from what's called Final Fantasy VII and all the offshoots now. Yeah, so he's Cloud. He did Cloud in all the Kingdom Hearts games that Cloud's been a part of, and all the variations of Final Fantasy VII, as well as some offshoots, along with God, what's it called? Why am I blanking on it? The movie Advent Children, and then the other movie that they made for that.
Yeah,
he's done that. He did 1,654 episodes, I believe it is, of General Hospital, and then
he's a soap actor. I got you.
Yeah, and then he was in like 600 episodes of The Young and the Restless, which explains why later in the movie, when he gets shot in the leg, he has to take off his shirt and wrap it around his wound, even though the guy who's got a broken leg has two people that are helping him walk along.
Oh, man.
So you find out through basically a news report that Connie and Jared used to be members of the UHR, and that the governor was a big proponent of using technology basically for good, and wanted to do a whole bunch of good stuff with it. And that's the whole reason why they had the governor assassinated, or so it seems, because we then find out that the guy who's in charge of everything that's going on, including the assassination, is a guy named Paris Morgan. And he's basically a businessman who happens to have a genius working for him who can make a whole bunch of disposable bodies. It's really weird because he ends up talking to the people who helped be able to kill the governor by using one of the new trackers. But he makes a reference to the fact that the person has to realize that they owe him big. And it's, again, another thing in the movie that never gets used for any point.
Yeah, I the whole plot, like, obviously.
Yeah, the whole plot. I mean, you can easily sum it up and be like, oh, well, there's three strands, basically. Connie is thought to, have killed the governor. So the interim governor shows up and says, hey, we need to put a tracker on her to kill her. And when it doesn't work out right away, they say, okay, throw the next model out there. That's what we're going to do. And at the same time, you've got Paris Morgan and his group who are trying to create the ultimate killing machine. Like, they even go so far as making a Middle Eastern one so that they can try to kill a sultan in another place. And then you've got the dragon, who at first is searching for his wife, which takes less than 5 minutes to find out where she is.
Yeah.
And then has them trying to run away from both the tracker from the police department and the tracker from, I don't really care.
There's so many trackers.
They're there. Morgan doesn't really make sense with what his idea is, because he seems like he's trying to run a business, basically hiring out different types of cyborgs to people to assassinate, whatever. Yeah. But like, his agenda itself isn't that clear cut.
Well, yeah, they're trying to do RoboCop. Like, that's what this, like, this the evil businessman. That's what they're going for. It's just bad. It's just bad.
Everyone's evil. And they all basically collide because they decide that they're going to create an Eric tracker to kill him. But the problem with the Eric tracker is that most of the time he just stands in place firing two guns, and then the person that they have come against him basically is doing the same thing. And it's really awkward to see somebody standing in place with two guns at hip level just firing back and forth.
When the two trackers just shoot each other for a minute, like they're just standing
doing that. Oh.
They're like 5 feet apart and just shooting each other for a solid minute. And somehow they're missing more shots than they're hitting, because things are exploding behind them, and it's just like, what is this?
It's just it all falls tone deaf, because in that scene when the seemingly good, because it's not his fault, that he's programmed in a certain way, but when he gets his head knocked off by the Eric tracker and ends up flying into the inbox of the desk near him,
which is a fun joke. Get it?
Yeah. But then at the same time, they try to do like the chintziest, most melodramatic or over the top used scenes of all time, where they have a chase sequence that ends up but the LA Basin.
Oh my god. Yeah, this is what I mean when it's a Terminator ripoff too. It's just like, that's the least original place for a chase sequence. Everyone out there, stop doing this.
Yeah. And they end up so once they get Connie, they end up going to this guy who used to be part of the UHR group to help, make bombs, basically, to blow everything up, because they know that's going to be the only way to do it, even though they still got Apollo Creed's trainer, who's apparently the greatest hacker on Earth, because my favorite scene of the movie is comprised of mostly shots from the main bad guy and his number one henchman trying to out hack the other guy, but it's all like shots of them saying stuff like, he's hacking into this file like a pro. Oh, he's almost there. I'm going to redirect him. I did it. Oh, wait, he's almost in. We'll kick him out. And so on and so on and so on. But like with very little emotion whatsoever. And you're like, I don't. So what happened? Is it okay?
The weirdest part about that scene is he gets the address for the bad guy's location. And then
he doesn't use it.
Yeah, and he doesn't use it. And then later in the scene, they have to like hook up one of the robots to learn the address. And it's the same place. And I just wanted
it short circuits right away.
I just wanted him to pop in and go like, I already knew that. Sorry. I didn't know that it was going to be the same place.
He already has the best delivery before that where the dragon shows up and says, hey, can you turn off all the trackers? And the guy's like, no, I can't do it. I'm sorry. And then he goes, okay, well, can you at least change their setting from execution on site to capture? And he said, now that I can do. And I'm like, wait, what? You're just supposedly this master hacker, and you're like, oh, you just want him down to non-murder status? Okay, let's do it.
The thing, I don't like. This is a movie as a whole comment, I guess.
Yeah,
they've successfully framed these two people.
Yes.
Why are they so desperate to kill them? Then just let the government take care of that. They're framed now.
They just get more and more desperate as time goes by. In the movie, I don't know if it's because they're just like, we need to film until there's like X amount of material that's been covered or what, because it drags. Like the shootout that they have in the police station is about like 8 minutes long.
Yeah.
And you don't need half of it.
No, you don't really. I mean, you don't really need it. Like it doesn't.
No, you don't need it. If you want, watch Assault on Precinct 13th or watch, oh God, why is that blanking?
Wait,
I'll remember it later.
Okay.
No, there was a movie that I was trying to say, oh, watch this. Oh, it's Maniac Cop 2. Maniac Cop 2 has a scene that's only like 4 minutes long or so, but it's really gory where they're killing people in a prison setting, like in a police prison part. But it's very focused and it's lean and it gets in and it knows what it wants to do. Whereas this movie just feels like it's a mess when it has these scenes because they're like, oh, you want more action? That's what's going to do it. It's like, well, no, you got to have some substance to go along with it. Otherwise, it's not,
It's boring. It's just boring. It's mindless and boring, and there are no stakes because you don't care about any of this.
You just want half the action sequences to end.
Yeah. Which is funny because I think the action sequence that goes by the quickest and is given the least amount of time is the climax of the film.
Yes. The climax where they've been setting up that they built what they call a super tracker, who just looks like all the others.
Yeah, just looks normal. Doesn't have any secret power or anything.
And we've established that the main bad guy at this company knows how to fight, and so he's going to be serviceable in a matter. And it just they cut it off like really fast. You're just like, oh, that's it.
Yeah, he like throws him a couple times.
Yes,
and then he just turns the face laser around on him,
and he's like, no, and then he's done. And it's just like everything's just too pat and dry and fast, and it like there's nothing to it.
Yeah,
there's nothing keeping it going. It's not even like funny bad, unless you're pointing out like I said, the amount of times where it's like, oh, now we're gonna have another car that's on fire flip over this car.
Yeah.
One of the questions I like to ask you, because maybe you have an explanation, is
okay.
What I just.
Is that your question?
Well, no, because I'm trying to find like the correct way of explaining my gripe, because it's I seriously I feel bad that I don't know the way to explain it, but I think you covered it earlier when the movie's called Cyber Tracker. We have these trackers that are basically nigh on indestructible.
Mm-hmm.
We're told at one point by one of the UHR terrorist guys that he has a gun that's able to slow them down.
Yeah.
But we never see it come into play.
Well, I think it's used once, actually. I do think it's used once.
For like 2 seconds,
I think
maybe.
it's used on the dragon tracker.
Okay.
And it doesn't work. Like
okay.
They shoot it like right before, you know how they blow that one up in the church or whatever? One of the I don't know any of the characters' names. One of the characters shoots them with it and it like knocks them over and they're like out. And then that's when the guy has time to blow the church, but we see him get back up. So it didn't work.
Maybe I just completely blocked that.
It's like a blink and you miss it thing. And the only reason I recognized it is because I was kind of waiting for that to pay off. So I looked.
Yeah.
I rewound and looked at what the gun looked like because I was really curious.
But before they have that final push, Tony Burton's character ends up giving them tracker number 9. And it's like, why, if you had them at the disposal, why didn't you send them the whole time?
Why don't you ever use these things? And that's, I mean, the end when they're infiltrating the business. Steve Burton's like, I'll draw their fire. You go ahead. I'm like, no, use the indestructible bulletproof robot for that. What are you doing?
Yeah. And then they're running away from the Eric tracker. And they've got these grenades that they're throwing. And the grenades have like the longest delay of all time.
Yeah,
I don't know why that bothered me, but they've got people in the front who are dragging a body that's still alive, and then they've got a couple people behind them, and they're throwing grenades, and the grenades don't like accidentally killing, end up killing any of their friends that are around.
Yeah, so what's a time grenade, Adrian?
I don't know.
Because
I don't know. That guy is...
Because they said they have time grenades, and then the main bad guy at the end sets off one, and it's just an explosion.
Nope.
Is it just an explosion that takes a lot of time to go off? Like, I thought it was going to be some cool, like, rewind time thing, because, like, as he's setting the grenade, he's like, they're not going to have a lot of time. And I was like, what are we doing here? But nothing. We're not doing anything.
Yep. Well, I mean, they introduce things like that in the movie thinking that it's going to give it some flair, and it doesn't really work because they have the car that, why am I blinking on this name? This shows how much I care about
the Fast and the Furious car, right? The Fast 8 car, the remote controlled car. Is that what you're talking about?
No. I was going to say the fact that our lead, Eric, that his car looks like a Mad Max reject car.
Yeah, that's true.
But then none of the other cars that exist in this world look like that.
Well, yeah, there's a trivia on IMDb that you would like to know. One of the cars used was just the Dragon's real car. The Mercedes, that's just his car.
That's what he drove to the set in, and he's like, "Oh, we got to get a scene with this.
Yeah,
I can consider this a write-off if that happens, right?" It's just like none of it works, and it's boring. They defeat the guys at the end, so that basically everybody in the conspiracy is dead. They don't stop it; they just murder a whole bunch of people, and all of a sudden, there's a switch that turns in both Connie and his wife, where, Connie and Eric, where they're okay with trackers, but they don't really establish them as being like anti-tracker,
right,
for most of the movie. And all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, I hope number 9's okay." You really do care for them after a while. And, they see him and they're like, "Oh, I hope he's okay." And he ends up saying, "Captain, blah, blah," to the dragon, and the dragon goes, "Eric," and they show a shot of the cyborg who's in the car, and he goes, "Eric," and then it literally cuts back to the main 4 characters of the film all going and then cuts to the end.
Yep. Yeah. Which
like,
is
it feels like it's got a sitcom ending, and I'm like, but that doesn't fit with any of the tone that you've been conveying before that point.
Especially since number 9 is really, contrary to what the cover says, is really barely in this film. Like he's at the very beginning and then the very end, and that's it. Like you could see, like you could see that they're trying to do this beat where like the tracker is becoming more human and it's learning, but then you need to keep it throughout the movie to establish that. Nope, we just do a stupid little 3-beat with his name, and that's it. That's all we're gonna do.
Again, like I said, this is a movie that posits that their main bad is a company who ended up deciding that were taking a former cybernetics expert to make an army of assassination machines for the highest bidder.
Yeah.
So that's...
But they paint on faces with a laser, so that's cool.
No, don't care. Don't care. Don't really care about anything in this movie. Do you have a ray of sunshine in this film?
I guess I'm gonna try to get it as the cover image of this podcast. My ray of sunshine is the head falling into the inbox. I think that's great. It's just stupid enough that I laughed at it.
I had a question a lot when I saw that. I was like, really? This is... Because it's very annoying. It's aggressively done. Like that's part of the reason that I have an issue with this movie. Is they try to be so aggressive with so much of the action, but none of it works. And it feels like there was never a point where somebody said, you might want to change this.
Well, and isn't the tracker that gets his head chopped off, isn't that played by the same actor that plays number 9?
Yeah.
Which is, that's weird. I don't know.
And they make a big deal about their super, what's it called? Their super tracker, who we barely get to see in concept. So I don't know.
And then the other tracker lady gets liquid nitrogen to death because we had to steal that from the Terminator.
Oh my God. Yep. Good old Connie tracker getting the frozen from the neck up bit just so it can shatter in a weird direction. And even the score at a couple points feels like it's going to be turned into like the Terminator 2 score.
Yeah, it threatens to, but it would have to actually be good to do that. So it never happens. Yeah, this is a mess. It's so annoying because there's times that I really want to like these movies. Like, there's bad movies and then there's bad movies. And like, I want to have fun with a stupid bad movie. And it's just not fun. Like, this is boring. No. It's so boring. I'm glad it was only an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's tedious.
Yeah.
It's tediously paced out. Okay, well, we'll just vote then. What is your vote, Scott?
It's guilty. This is like, go away, movie. Like,
yeah.
There are so many bad movies that are more enjoyable than this, and you can have much more fun with. Hell, I think was it Alienator? I think Alienator was a lot more fun than this movie. And that was a piece of shit movie. So,
but that's because more characters talk, so that there's that easier entry point of things to poke or make fun of.
Yeah. I'm shocked there was not a Cybertracker 3. Shocked, I tell you.
I don't know. They would have had to try to get Lorenzo Lamas for that one, would be my guess.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Tie it all way back around. Yeah, I'm going to say guilty too. I wanted this to be like bad, like so bad that it's super enjoyable. And it just didn't come out that way. There were too many scenes that felt overwrought, that didn't understand like what tone they were supposed to be in. And then it just falls apart, and you're watching it and you want to be doing other things. And you want to be fumbling with other things as opposed to just reading it because it's just, or just watching it because it's a slog to get through.
Yeah.
And it feels sad saying, oh, there's lots of action. There's wall to wall action, but you can't see part of it and you don't want to.
Yeah. It's like this hour and a half movie probably took me 3 hours to watch because I just kept pausing it because I was like, I would be watching and then I'd like zone out and start doing something else and realize I haven't been watching the movie and be like, shit, I got to go back now.
Yeah, and I had to stop to like I had to stop to take notes on stuff and just be like, try to process it in my brain and then be like, no, because I don't think the movie's processing it in that way. I mean, there's lines that are thrown out in the film like United States of computer rights. Or the fact that at the end of the LA Basin scene, they have the more upgraded but still on the police side version of the trackers come out of the vehicle that's flipped over and start apologizing as like a PSA to the hosts that are there, and it just it's just this whole movie. I mean, if I were to retitle it, I would call it "Shooting Indiscriminately: The Film."
I would call it definitely not the Terminator. But also the Terminator.
Please don't sue us. We are not the Terminator. But it's just so much of the movie is so painful that I don't. I'm glad that you said I was guilty as well.
Yeah. Like nothing would have made me happier than to get to say not guilty. But no, it's terrible.
I don't think that's going to happen next week as well.
Well, I've seen half that movie, so let me tell you, we're going to have a lot to talk about next week.
We are. We will get into layers of philosophy and economics and
it's
whatnot.
going to be great. And I think Matt's going to have a lot to say about this movie, so I really hope he is able to make it.
Yes. I've
sent him the movie, so we'll
nice.
See.
The movie that we're talking about is Alongside Night. The main big name that it has is Kevin Sorbo. But then there's a couple of smaller names that people might know or faces that they might know, like Jake Busey is in it for a few minutes.
Yeah, and the Vulcan from Voyager.
Yeah.
I forget his name, but it's the Vulcan from Voyager.
Yeah. Tuvok.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know the actor's name though.
Yeah, no, neither do I. I feel bad about that, but it's Star Trek, so if you get the character right, that's
enough points.
Usually fine.
Yeah.
But it looks terrible. It basically looks like the Birdemic version of Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah. Not to spoil too much. It's terrible in a very funny way, though, and it's like. I don't want to ruin it. I have so many things to say, and I've only seen half this movie.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Next week's episode, it's going to be really fun.
Scott, where can people find you on the internet?
I can be found on the Twitter, the hellscape that is Twitter, at ScottDaly85. That's DALY. And you can also find all my other podcasts and writing and all that at dailyplanetfilms.com.
Is there any podcast of yours that they should focus on trying or listening to?
This week we did a new episode of the Kryptonian Collection, which is our podcast where we're trying to come up with the list of the best movies ever. We had Dee Dee, who has appeared on this podcast before, came on to offer up Night of the Living Dead
nice.
To the challengers. It was a really fun episode. I was on it with someone who wrote their master's thesis on Night of the Living Dead and Dee Dee, and two people who had never seen a Romero movie before in their lives were my co-hosts. So it was a very eclectic mix of people. I think it was a good conversation.
Oh, that's good. That's good. You can find me on Twitter at Adrian Torres, and then you can find my writing over at boomhowdy.com. I apologize if I feel like I'm sounding like I'm fading in and out on this episode, but just talking about this movie is so draining, just like thinking about it, and you're just like, I wouldn't do anything else but talk about this movie.
Yeah, there are weeks where this podcast is really fun, and like last week's episode I thought was such a blast, and there are weeks like this where we're like, I mean, there's a reason why this episode's gonna be under an hour, because it's just like it's bad, like it's bad in the most boring kind of ways. Yeah.
Yes. But I did want to shout out, because they might not listen, but I just wanted to give a shout out to them. If you live in the Kansas City area, at the end of this month, they've got Panic Fest, the Panic Film Festival, down at the Screenland Armor going on. The really cool thing about it is it's a small, locally started film festival that's in its, I think it's like 5th or 6th year. But the event is co-sponsored by Boulevard Brewery and IFC Midnight. And so they bring a whole bunch of movies, but they are completely sold out of the VIP full fest passes and single day passes as well. That they have some tickets available for movies that are going to be in the bigger house that they can still buy online, but like lots of the big titles that people were wanting to see, they're having to try to find a way to book second showings because they're not going to be able to fit people in, and they're going to end up having like wait lines and stuff for certain movies. So it's really cool to see something that's as small as that started locally is basically selling out everything that they've got going on, even, a week before everything starts.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Jealous.
Yeah, it should be. And there's 3 showings of Tigers Are Not Afraid going on, so people will be crying. It's good. I'm actually doing an intro to the Saturday showing of the movie because of how open I've been about how much I love it.
That's awesome. So, are you?
I'm like, with that.
Are you afraid of your intro?
No.
No,
No, I'm bringing tissues for people.
It was a bad joke, Adrian. It was a bad joke.
I know.
Just let me have my bad joke.
I was trying to scoot over it so we didn't have to worry about editing it out. I just needed to be louder to drown you out.
I'm not going to edit it out, Adrian. I am control the edit, and I say no.
Okay. Well, until next week, everyone try to stay warm and don't be dickbags.
What?
I don't need no predictions. I don't listen to fate. I'm a cold soul survivor. I've been known not to wait. In a land of confusion, no one's ready to face. If it's love that you're after, then you're in the wrong place, baby.